Welcome to DownNotableContent. My name is SJ.
And I'm Alex. We share the last name Herschel and are two down-to-earth guys who are bringing you notable content from the world of gaming.
This is the beginning of a new era for this podcast and the launch of Season 2.
Let's get into it.
Herschel. Herschel. Herschel.
How you doing today, SJ?
I'm doing well. I wasn't
Oh no.
earlier.
What happened?
So, ever since we moved into this house,
Hmm.
I've had great internet service provided by Xfinity or Comcast, whatever. They kind of get a bad rap for like crappy customer service and stuff, but honestly, they've been really good to me. Anytime I've needed anything, I reach out over chat, and it's totally fine. They get back to me really quickly, and I've had it for a pretty good price on a promotion since we moved into this house. And that contract was expiring at the end of this month, and I knew it was coming up, and I knew my bill was going to go up a little more than I wanted it to. Essentially what happened was, if my bill went up, it would be more worth my money to switch to Google Fiber. Because I would be paying less money for superior internet speeds, basically, right? So I reach out and I'm like, hey, I think my bill is going up at the end of this month. Can you confirm that? Tell me what it's going to be exactly. They told me. I was like, okay, that's too high for me. If that's what it's going to be, I'm going to switch to Google Fiber because everything will be better, at that price point. And they're like, okay, we totally understand. Well, we have promotions that update like every month. So, and I reached out to him at the end of December. And they're like, so come back to us in January and we can look at what promotions there are, and maybe we can get you on another deal for the next year or something. I was like, okay, fine. So I reach out again. And long story short, the guy tells me the same thing. He's like, hey, our promotions update weekly. So come back to us next week and see if there's a promotion. And I'm like, guy, I don't want to keep doing that until I eventually get charged the higher bill. So if I can't figure it out right now, it's not worth it to me. It's not worth my time to keep doing this. If I've been a loyal customer for 3 years, and if I can't have the peace of mind that my bill's going to stay the same, and I'm at the mercy of promotions, then I'm switching to Google Fiber. And, I basically told them that. And I really thought that the ultimatum would get them to say, okay, we'll keep that amount for the next 2 years or whatever, right? I actually did get transferred to someone that's probably some escalations department or something, right? But they basically told me the same thing. So I was like, okay, please cancel my services. And then I reached out to Google Fiber. It was super easy. That week, they came, installed it. There's a little box thing outside. Like, it's all set up. And
Good to go.
as you can tell, it's working.
Good
and
to
it's
go.
beautiful, wonderful. I don't ever have to worry about, well, hopefully, my bill changing or anything. So, and I realize that I'm privileged, and not a lot of people out there have even access to internet or Google Fiber for that matter. So
Yeah, Google Fiber is one of those services that's like,
it's pretty limited.
it's very specific on where you can actually get Google Fiber, right?
Yeah, because they're still expanding and building their infrastructure, and
that makes
Xfinity has
sense.
had theirs out for
Years.
decades.
Yeah, long time.
So there's my little rant.
Dang.
That's
well,
it.
I'm glad you got it figured out.
How are you though?
I'm good.
Good.
I'm good. Life's been going swimmingly. things are on the up and up. And
did you say swimmingly?
I did say swimmingly.
Is that a thing?
Yes. To me.
Never have I ever heard that before.
Learn something new every day. Folks, we are super excited to be bringing you our new version of our show with downloadable content. And before we get into our main topic of today's show, we actually have 2 emails that we want to respond to that we got over the last couple weeks since we released our last couple episodes for season 1. We're going to read those to you now, kind of response, so that you guys can kind of see what other listeners are thinking and feeling as they're listening to our episodes with you. And so we're going to start with this email from Jonah. Jonah sent us a very long and detailed email with a lot of really, really good thoughts. And unfortunately, we do not have the time to respond to everything that he said. And so me and SJ came to the decision that we were each going to choose one section of this email to respond to, talk about what Jonah shared, how we feel about it, and kind of do it this way for the sake of time. And do you want to start? Or do you want me to start?
Why don't you start? Because the part of his email that I want to talk about is like, this game of the year.
It's pretty fair enough. And so this email was in response to our Games of the Year episodes. If you haven't listened to those, go check them out. They're awesome. One of our favorite episodes that we've put out. So go check them out.
Wait, Alex, I know you're excited, but you want to make sure your mic's not
okay.
peaking.
And the way that Jonah sent his email to us was based around different games that he had played throughout the year, kind of where he felt it fit in for the different categories that have been set up. And so I want to talk about what Jonah had to say about Hollow Knight. Jonah says, in my eyes, it should win Best World Building, which wasn't a category that we had, but I'm very upset kind of that we didn't have it as an episode.
It's a really good category because a lot of games, that's pretty important, right?
Yeah, definitely. Jonah continues by saying, its gameplay is fun and addicting, but like Alex mentioned, really hard. It has a massive world with almost no direction. These 2 things make it hard to pick up for people who aren't ready to spend a lot of time playing it. I've already put 20 hours in and I'm not even close to finishing it because it's so hard the boss fights take hours to beat sometimes. I haven't listened to the score a lot, but it's very intense and I am personally not a huge fan. However, I do think it's in competition for most unique because while the inputs and controls are really simple, you are dropped into the world with almost nothing. You learn the story and game by exploring, and it makes for a really interesting and unique experience. I would put this as a nominee for Game of the Year. There you go. So basically, Hollow Knight is a game that I think we've both heard a lot about from the 2 of us, from Jonah and from other people, but neither of us have put a lot of time into the game.
I'd never even played it. I've heard great things about it, but that's about it.
Yeah. But I think Jonah did a good job explaining why this game is so special to so many people, is that atmosphere that it creates, because that is something that I hear every single time that someone talks about these games, is the very, very unique or engaging atmosphere that the game creates with the world that it's built and how the story unfolds for you. And so I really like that. And so here's our recommendation to you that you should go check out Hollow Knight and send us more thoughts about it. And maybe, just maybe, one of us will actually play it one of these days so we can have a full episode on it.
I feel like Hollow Knight is one of those games that, like, if you love that gameplay, you're going to completely fall in love with it. You know? Like, I feel like it's for people that, and I can't say for sure because I've never played it, right? Maybe like Metroid people, like 2D Metroid people, Castlevania people, you know?
Yeah, definitely.
I feel like it's in that category, and 2D platforming fighting is usually not my cup of tea.
No, yeah. But
yeah,
there you go.
So another section I'd like to read from Jonah's email. Let's see here. Okay. My overall favorite game this year has been either Hollow Knight or Smash or multiplayer Ocarina of Time. I'll give you a little bit of context on that. I have fond memories of hanging out with Sedge, that's me, SJ, this past year playing Smash and Ocarina of Time, and because he's one of my best friends. You are too sweet, Jonah. And those games aren't super thinking intensive. That's when I could talk with them about everything. Hollow Knight is a beautiful game. It's really fun and may take some time to get into, but once I was into it, I was hooked and spent hours on it. So, Jonah, we hang out pretty frequently, and when we do, one that we've been working on for, I want to say, like a good few months now, is Ocarina of Time Online. There's a particular mod to the game that you're able to download and run on an emulator, and I wish I knew the creator of this mod off the top of my head. I think it's a group of people that did it, because I'd like to credit them, but if you look it up, you'll find them. It allows you to play Ocarina of Time literally online with anybody. They have their own dedicated servers. Like, input delay is surprisingly good. Like, it's really, really cool. And they do the same thing for Majora's Mask as well. And we've been playing that. And it's really, really fun because the two of you can be doing different things, right? Like, one of us can be getting Epona while the other person goes to Hyrule Castle. Or if you're both in the same dungeon, one of you could be tackling one room while the other person does something else. So it kind of adds a whole new layer to Ocarina of Time, which is one of my favorite games ever. So thank you, Jonah, for writing in. We really appreciated your email.
Yes, we did. We're going to move over to our second email, which comes from another one of our listeners, Nathan. Nathan titled this email, Ori games are 11 out of 10. He says, Hey fellas, for Christmas I got the 2 Ori games, Ori and the Blind Forest and Ori and the Will of the Wisps. And let me tell you, they are some of the best games I have ever played. I plowed through the first game in about 12 hours, and I'm only about 4 hours into the second game. I'm not sure if you guys have played the second one, but it is very good. It adds a more combat-heavy playstyle while also keeping the platform areas in. There are mini-bosses throughout the game and new NPCs that allow for new upgrades. Just wanted to let you know that I wouldn't know about these games had it not been for your podcast. Keep up the good work and looking forward to your next episode.
Those last couple of sentences there just really, really touched my heart. I mean, this type of thing is exactly why we started this podcast, like we wanted to engage people in gaming in a meaningful and impactful way. And that's exactly, what Nathan has told us has happened. And I'm so happy for Nathan. Thank you for writing in, and I'm so great that you've had a good time with these games.
Yeah, and I love that of all the games that we've talked about, it's Ori that's brought in, because I do feel like I don't know, when I found out that Nathan had gone Ori, it was just a little bit unexpected. I wouldn't have expected him to have taken as much of an interest in this one as compared to other games that we talked about.
Yeah, right.
But to hear that he had such an incredible experience with the games, that's awesome. And you've officially passed me up. I have not been able to put more time into Ori and the Blind Forest. I was going to mention that
too. He's already on the second one.
And I have not played Ori and the Will of the Wisp, but you telling us that it has a little bit more combat heavy and adds some different playstyle aspects to it make me excited to play it eventually, because I just haven't gotten around to it. But love you, man. Thanks for writing in. You're the best. And I hope that the rest of Ori and the Will of the Wisps is as amazing as the rest of the series has been so far.
Well, are we going to talk about the elephant in the room now or after that?
That was one of the most undescriptive hand gestures I've ever seen. You pointed to like the entire outline. That's the elephant in the room?
Oh, no, I think this is the elephant in the room.
That'll come after.
Okay, okay.
That'll come after.
All right. Well, Alex, what have you been playing lately?
Yeah, we're going to go ahead and spend the rest of this episode talking, just giving you guys updates on where we are as gamers and outside of this podcast specifically, as in, what games we've been playing and enjoying.
Yeah, this is basically an update episode. So.
Yeah, it's simple stuff. So, rather surprisingly, I didn't have as much time to put into games over the holidays as I thought I would. A good amount of my gaming time actually went into 2 different mobile games that I'm going to talk about a bit today.
Games?
Mobile games.
I did not expect that.
The first one is a solid game called Retro Bowl. And let me tell you, Retro Bowl is one of the simplest games ever, but I have put so much time into that game. Retro Bowl is just a really, really simple American football simulator. That's it. You just play American football in old 8-bit graphics. But it is so much fun. It has no reason to be as fun as it is. But I've played through a lot of seasons. Basically what you do is you're a coach, you assemble your team, and you just play football games. And they have all the teams that are in the NFL. And so, I picked my childhood team,
Who's your team?
the Chicago Bears, and
the Bears.
we ran with it.
It's out.
And it's just been awesome. I've won multiple championships. My players always play really, really well. It's just one of those games that's like, it's really easy to pick up because you can play a game in like 4 minutes. Like it's a really, really fast-paced thing. And so like there's like a slight lull in something. I need to fill my time for 10 minutes. It's not enough to pull out a Switch and start booting up a game. But you can very, very easily just pull out your phone, do this, and it's been really fun, and I've enjoyed it a lot. And my family's been asking me when I was going to talk about Retro Bowl on the podcast. So here you go. Here it is.
So
Retro Bowl.
Retro Bowl, like the Super Bowl.
Like the Super Bowl, but instead of super, it's retro.
Okay.
Because it's got 8-bit graphics and that old art style. A lot of fun.
So it's not... Like, what is the actual gameplay? Are you tapping and commanding sort of thing?
So you only play as the offense. The defense portion of the game is simulated. And so what comes up is it has 2 plays kind of not preloaded, but every single snap of the game, there's 2 plays that you can choose between a running play and a passing play. The passing play has different routes for your receivers that they run. Okay. And so you either you tap your running back and they just hand it off, and then you can swipe to kind of juke and try to outrun defenders. And all your players have stats, how fast they are, how hard of a hit they can take or give. Each position has a different skill that adds to it. And so you're choosing different players based off of what type of running back you want to have or what type of quarterback you want to have. And then when you're passing, instead of handing it off, your quarterback just kind of drops into waiting for the receivers to get down the field.
Right.
And then you just kind of like draw it back, and it has like a little dotted line showing where the trajectory of the ball will go. Uh-huh. And you release, and the receiver either catches it or drops it, doesn't make it there in time. So it's really, really simple. It's not a complex game at all, but it's a lot of fun.
That sounds cute. All of that in the 8-bit style, huh?
Yeah, it's a good time. Yeah. It's a good time. And just to throw this in, I get really attached to my players, but your players can't play for you forever, and you have like financial limitations. Like,
do they get bought out?
you field a team based off of this amount of money that you can pay every year. And when you have players playing really, really well, they're requesting more money because they're worth it in their eyes. But It gets to the point where, if you're spending nearly half of your salary cap on one position player, then you have to let him go. Like, you can't hold on to him. And so what I do is I make up stories for why these players aren't on my team anymore. Like, I had a quarterback who I decided was diagnosed with a disease before or while we were in the playoffs, and he played through the disease, wins the championship, and then he was
come up with like a hero
no,
story.
Listen. he was requesting too much money, and so I let him go. But in my mind, the narrative was that because of this disease, he retired from playing the game and was one of my like assistant coaches. So
He lives on.
It lives on in my team
Oh
and
my
in
goodness.
my memory. And the game is not that complex. There's no way to actually make that the narrative, but that's what I do. And it's a ton of fun. It's actually so much fun. But yeah,
Wow,
put a lot of time into Retro Bowl recently. What's a game you've been
Bowl.
playing, SJ?
Well, I've been playing a lot of Pokemon White, as the scholars say. Not white, white, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's been really good. I think I've mentioned it on the podcast before, but as a quick update, I have beat the main story, which was really good. One of the more compelling stories in Pokemon in general. Have you played Gen 5?
I've played Black 2.
Okay.
But not...
So that's like Gen 5.5
Yeah.
or whatever. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. So much, in fact, that I'm kind of playing some of the post-game, which I haven't really been doing, because what I've been doing is, because I missed so many generations of Pokemon, I've been going back and playing the older ones, right? And as I beat one, I move on to the to the next, and I beat Alpha Sapphire, so I put that down, and now I'm playing White, and yeah, I just really enjoy it, so I keep playing it. I'm kind of collecting the legendaries, and doing all these different like side quests that become available after you beat the game. Also after you beat the game, like other generations of Pokemon become available to you, which is cool.
Yeah, that was something they did in Gen 5, right? Is like before you like become the champion, like it's really, really hard to find Pokemon that aren't from the Unova region, right?
I don't think there was a single one that wasn't. At least I'm mixing up my Pokemon, but I'm pretty sure it works that way. And there's even like cities that you can't even access. I haven't even been to all the cities yet. There's like a third of the map that I haven't explored. So it's really cool in that sense. I think overall though, my only problem with the game has been that a lot of the Gen 5 Pokemon designs I don't care for.
See, and that's why I never liked playing those games.
Yeah, I don't care for Garbodor. I don't care for, ice cream cone, like a lot of these like, inanimate object things. But there are like several like really, really, really good ones. Like Volcarona. It's a bug fire type. Fantastic. Really, really cool. And a whole bunch of others that I really like too. But so I kind of have mixed feelings about it in terms of the Pokemon design. But anyway, that's one I've been playing. I'll probably wrap it up within the next month or so.
There you go. And does that fully catch you up on Pokemon, or do you still have Gen 6 to do, right? Have you played X or Y?
I haven't played X or Y.
Do you have plans to?
I don't know. And maybe you or one of our listeners, now that we have video, it's both, can give me recommendations. But now that I've played White, should I play Black or White too? Or is it going to be more the same? I've heard that in terms of the story, it's like a sequel to the first one. But I don't know if it would feel too repetitive, or if it would be, should I skip it and just go to X and Y? I don't know.
So from what I've heard, and Jonah, you've actually played all of Black 2, or I think I finished Black 2. You have a better idea of the game though, because it was your game that I borrowed. So you'll have to let us know. But from what I understand, like it is very similar. Like you it's a different story, and you explore the region in a different order, but like your Pokemon are still the same, and it's that same like waiting until after you beat the main story to have access to Pokemon from other generations.
I thought I heard that you have
was that
access to
fixed?
other gen from the beginning of the game. I could
Who
be wrong.
knows?
I thought I heard it
I don't know.
somewhere.
I was going to check this, but my computer blacked out. So, who knows? Maybe. Jonah, let us know. And I haven't played the 6th gen, but I know that Nathan has. So, because
really?
I watched Nathan play it once. We were hanging out once, and he pulled it out and kind of showed me. He went through the Elite Four and the Champion again and showed me his team and stuff. So, Nathan, if you liked Pokemon,
did you like X and Y?
I think you had, but
yeah,
let us know.
Let us know. I've heard that X and Y is when Pokemon became easy. That's what I hear.
That's what I've
from
heard.
multiple people.
That is what I've heard.
I've really, really enjoyed the difficulty of White. It's been just on the sweet spot for me. But yeah. Anyway.
There you go.
Do you have anything else you're working on?
I have another mobile game.
You're turning into a mobile gamer. Oh no.
This game, I kind of started to fizzle out on Retro Bowl. No, you don't.
Yeah, I do.
You have no idea what it is.
It's Candy Crush.
No, it's not Candy Crush. And I love sports. I love football. I love basketball. I've mentioned that before, but I'm not very good at them in real life. And
Whatever,
so video games give me an opportunity to live that out. And so me and my siblings, because my siblings played Retro Bowl with me too. They had their own files, their own careers. And we were all kind of at a point where we were like, we kind of need something new. And Jonah found a game called Hoop League.
Hoop League?
Hoop League. It is a basketball tactics game. So it's, again, very, very simple. But like the courts split up into tiles. You have your positions. And like you can move around your guys to follow different like tiles to give them like better shooting positions and to like set up your defense and stuff. And again, really, really simple, but really, really satisfying to play. Because like a basketball game, like it doesn't matter if you're completely wide open. Sometimes you're just going to miss shots. And so the game has a way of balancing out like the chance that goes into basketball where sometimes you're just destined to fail no matter how well you set it up.
Uh-huh.
And so like there's a decent amount of a challenge to it if you turn the difficulty up past rookie.
Can you change the difficulty at any point?
Mm-hmm.
That's nice.
Mm-hmm. And it's been loads of fun. My player is an absolute beast on the court. He's sick. He looks like me. So I get to live out my dreams of being a professional basketball player.
Is he ever going to get bought out by another team?
No, so I got drafted and they gave me a 2-year contract. I played really, really well. We won a championship in those 2 years. I won MVP and the team was playing really, really well. And so I went into free agency and every single team offered me like the maximum contract that you can in the game.
Uh-huh.
And as a desire to stay loyal, I actually had to talk about it with Jonah and Lily and my dad. I was like, do I go like what should I do? Like I kind of want to go to a team that like is terrible and lead them to victory. But
that would be cool.
But then my dad was like, but like this is the team that gave you the chance. You've built them up this far and like you need to decide if you're going to be a loyal player. And that was the point where I was like, I need to be loyal.
So it's not a team management game. It's you're the guy.
So there is a team management way. I've been playing a version where I'm the guy, but at the same time, as the guy, you still have control over all the other players on the court.
Okay.
And so I command them to move where they go. But that might be because of the position that I chose my player to play. Like I think Jonah's playing as a different position, and I don't think he has the same ability. So I guess it kind of depends.
Interesting.
But the way that I've been playing it, it's a ton of fun. So Hoop League, it's not a very popular game. Go check it out and download it because it's a good time.
Now, are both of these mobile games free?
Completely free.
Do you ever feel... I mean, I'm guessing there's... Like, what's the benefit of paying?
In Retro Bowl, it adds in kickoffs, and then there's one other. I think you can. There's like things that you have to earn. Like if in Retro Bowl, since you're the coach, if you coach well enough, you get enough credit to the point where you can go talk to your owner and say, hey, you've been giving me $150 million to spend on players each year. I need you to up it to 175. Or, you upgrade your facilities, your training facilities, your stadiums to make the experience better for your supporters. And I think
flexibility, I guess.
I think when you pay it, you just get like that credit early on and don't have to play you for it. So you can just do that.
Okay.
And in Hoop League, I don't know exactly what you get for paying. I'm sure it's like kind of similar thing. Like you can extend how long a season is. You can extend how long the actual games are. Maybe you can increase your salary cap. I'm not entirely sure. I haven't looked into it, but I haven't paid a dime for either of them, and I've put maybe I don't know, but a good amount of time.
If it's a free-to-play game and you don't feel like you need to pay to enjoy it, then yeah,
it's a good time.
Awesome. Well, there's another one I've been playing, and Horizon Zero Dawn is a game that I think I talked about. No, I didn't talk about it on the Game Awards, did I?
Nope.
No, I didn't, because that's not a game that I played in 2022. Let me put it simply. If you haven't played Horizon Zero Dawn, the protagonist, Aloy, looks like my wife, so I get to play as my wife. And if you like Breath of the Wild, I think you'll like Horizon Zero Dawn. They are very similar. They even came out in the same year.
They came out within like 2 weeks of each other.
Yeah, I felt bad for them because like they had to compete with Breath of the Wild, and I honestly, if Breath of the Wild didn't come out that same year, I think Horizon Zero Dawn might have won Game of the Year
over Mario Odyssey. Maybe. I've heard that it's good enough. I've heard that it's good enough too.
Personally, I like Horizon Zero Dawn more than Mario Odyssey. But honestly, to be honest though, okay, listen.
Oh my gosh. What?
Yeah. They're apples and oranges, you know? Like they're totally different types of games. You're either going to prefer one type of gameplay over the other, and I like Horizon Zero Dawn more.
Wow.
I loved Odyssey. Odyssey is one of my favorite Mario games ever. But I also prefer Sunshine. So that's a whole nother episode there. But anyway, I've been replaying it this time on PC. So, just max out all the graphics. I get to play it on ultra wide. I do a lot better. So a lot of the combat is bow and arrow. Oops, sorry about that. So, you're shooting a lot of things, and I do a lot better with keyboard and mouse when I'm aiming at stuff. So I can already tell that I'm objectively better at the game when I play it on PC. But it's been really, really fun. And I've been playing it kind of as copium because the sequel is not yet on PC.
PlayStation 5 exclusive, baby.
I'm going to wait until it comes on PC. But yeah. Anything else you want to talk about?
So those are the games that we have been playing. And now we're going to take a little shift and talk about the games that we will be playing. And I'm going to run through them real fast. Now, in the Game of the Year episodes, I told you guys that I was going to finish either Ori and the Blind Forest, Eastward, or Xenoblade Chronicles 3 before the end of the year. And I didn't do that, but it was intentional, and let me tell you why.
I didn't think you would.
As we explained in the Game of the Year episodes, those games, if they're played in the calendar year of 2023, are eligible to be up for awards again. And I wanted to see how much those games could last
Oh
when I
my-
have
you're
more of a sample
metagaming.
size. And so I've decided that I was going to bring them into 2023 with me so that I could see if they still hold up.
Is
as
that
well.
legitimately why you didn't finish one?
Yes.
Or did you just not have time?
I 100% had the time. I could have finished probably both based off of my research. If I had maybe 20 hours, which I definitely could have put into gaming since the time that we've recorded the Game of the Year episodes, I could have finished Ori and Eastward. And I made the conscious decision not to.
Just so that you could arbitrarily put it into the 2023 Game of the Year awards?
So that I could see if they're still going to be nominated at 2023's Game of the Year awards.
That will be interesting to see.
Because I had
will be
such a
interesting.
small sample size for last year that I want to see what happens when I have a bigger
A lot
sample
more.
size.
Yeah, you'll definitely have a lot more this year.
And so those three are still going to be coming up. In addition, I have Ori and the Will o' the Wisps to play. And for Christmas, I received a Nintendo eShop gift card. And over New Year's Eve, Nintendo has a big eShop sale. And so I found 2 games that I got to buy without having to pay for them because they were both on sale for $5.
Wait, I thought you only bought one.
And they're both games that I've wanted to play now. I only told SJ about one so that I could talk about the other one on here. The first game that I bought is Celeste. Celeste is it's an indie platformer with, again, kind of like an 8-bit art style that has gotten rave reviews since it came out. And I really wanted to play it for a long time, and I'm excited to be able to eventually. And the other game is another game that I've had on my list for the last couple months. Is called, I don't know how you pronounce it, but I'm pretty sure it's pronounced Grizz. It's Gris. This is one of those games that's very, very artistic. It's very, very short. It's very, very short. But the description is that you follow this girl named Grizz after she's gone through this traumatic experience in her life and she's dealing with her pain. And so this game is a representation of her experiencing that grief, and I don't know whether she overcomes it or not, but I was drawn in by the art style and by the emotional story that it promises to tell. After looking at videos, I thought I was intrigued enough, with the gameplay being very much a experience along the journey type game.
It's super beautiful. I mean, there's like hardly any UI, right? It's like
it's very
super clean,
very
2D,
clean,
artistic.
And so I was able to get that too, because the reason that I had held off on buying Gris was that Gris is supposed to take about 4 hours to complete, and if you 100% the game, it takes about 7. So it's not a long game at all.
Right.
And they usually charge $20 for it.
That's a lot for...
Like, it's a lot for a little.
hours?
And it's going to be an incredible experience, but it's a lot for a little.
Right.
And then I found it on the eShop for $4.35. And I said, well, I have a gift card.
Oh,
I don't know
boy.
what else I'm going to spend $5 from this gift card on. Like, just going to buy it. And
Why
I
not?
did.
That's 75% off.
So
Killer deal.
Eventually, I'm going to have that. And that means that I have those 2 games, the 3 games from last year that I already mentioned. Tears of the Kingdom comes out that I already have pre-ordered.
Oh, baby. I haven't pre-ordered that yet.
2023 is coming up, Alex. It's going to be a good year for gaming for big ol' Alex. So that's what I've got coming up. Hopefully you guys enjoy what I have to say about these games in the coming weeks and months.
Oh, my goodness.
You've got a big game coming out later this month, SJ.
Oh, yeah.
Your second most hyped game of that's coming out this year?
I mean, it's barely second.
Really?
All right. Now,
hold on.
you know how much I love Zelda. You all know how much I love Zelda.
We need to make this clear. Like, Zelda is how this, not even this podcast, but just this.
Yeah.
Well, I guess that's not fair. Smash Bros. Did.
Yeah.
But Zelda, sustained
Yeah.
this.
Yeah. It's a part of this relationship we
Major
have. Like,
part.
right.
Pull your lamp. Let him see if do you think it'll stretch?
Wait. Hang on. No, I don't
No?
think so. Yeah.
We'll take a picture and upload it on the socials for y'all. But you'll see just how big of a Zelda fan this man is.
I have so much Zelda stuff. I mean, all over this room. I mean, you guys can't see it for those of you that are on YouTube or Spotify. But, Fire Emblem Engage, man, is my hype engaged on that game. Holy, I'm so excited. I am so excited, Alex. That game comes out in like 2 weeks. I've got it pre-ordered.
Remember, this man.
Remember what I said about pre-ordering?
Does not like pre-ordering.
I don't believe in pre-ordering.
He doesn't like it anymore.
For the most part.
He doesn't like it anymore.
I don't believe in it. No. Freaking Game Freak has made me lose faith in the system. But
you pre-ordered Fire Emblem Engage.
Fire Emblem?
Oh my gosh.
I trust that team to produce a polished game. That's how Three Houses was. That was my first Fire Emblem game. I then went back and played Fire Emblem Awakening. I absolutely loved it. I played one of the GBA ones. It was brutally difficult, and I quit.
Which GBA did you play?
Oh gosh. I can't. Okay, all I remember is that toward the beginning of the game, there's a bad guy. He's like a thief or something. Listen! There's like a...
At the beginning of the game, there's a bad guy.
No, okay. There's like the main bad guy, right? And then there's like a bad guy that the bad guy has hired.
Oh, okay.
And then he's like gonna attack your team, right? But if you approach him with like one of your like lady characters, you know, I think he says something like, "Oh, I don't like to hurt ladies" or something, right? And you can like recruit him to be on your team, and he's really cool. I think he's a Myrmidon, I'm pretty sure. For you Fire Emblem lovers out there, you might figure out what I'm talking about. You probably won't. But anyway, what I'm trying to say is,
you love Fire Emblem.
I love Fire Emblem, and Fire Emblem Engage is the graphics look like the animations and everything, right? It looks so fluid. It looks so polished. And it was already really good in Three Houses. The art style, although a little divisive, I can't decide on that. It's still really clean, really good, you know? I mean, it's just I'm just excited for a new Fire Emblem game, man. That's really all it boils down to. And the only thing that I'm afraid of, right? I want to sink like 300 hours into this game. I'm afraid that I may not be able to, because I don't think there's like branching paths in the story, you know. From what I've seen so far online, it seems to be more of a traditional, you know, Fire Emblem game where you have like one story. So like your playthrough, my playthrough would be very similar experiences, aside from whatever character that may have died in battle or whatever. But Three Houses, you've got 4 different stories. So
yeah,
that replayability, I don't know what that's going to be like, but either way, it's going to be worth $60, and I've already paid it. So
I have a question.
Hype for Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. I think like before I've told you that my hype for Fire Emblem Engage was like here. Sorry for you listeners, you're not going to be able to see what hand gestures I'm making here. It's like up here. Like,
okay, so I have a question. Well, so first off, I guess that's our preview into 2023's games of the year, because it's basically going to be Fire Emblem Engage versus Zelda.
It'll be there.
It'll just be Fire Emblem versus Zelda for most categories.
Probably.
You want to see?
Well, they're 2 very different games, though. For certain categories, I could see one of them completely, you know. Okay. But anyway.
But the question is, you want to sink 300 hours into Fire Emblem. Fire Emblem comes out at the end of the month. Tears of the Kingdom
I take back 300. 300's a lot. I've put like 230 into 3 houses.
Okay.
So 200.
My point is, you have about 4.5 months in between Fire Emblem and Zelda. Is that going to be a problem? Or are you going to be able to get everything you want out of Fire Emblem within that time? And if so, does that mean that, your Pokemon run is going to be put on halt? Your Horizon Zero Dawn experience is going to be put on halt just to make sure that you can get through Fire Emblem before Zelda comes out?
So I've actually got all that figured out.
Lay it on.
So Pokemon White, I'll be done with this soon. In fact, I'm okay putting it down at any point. I've gotten what I wanted out of it. I'm just playing through some of the post game stuff. No big deal. I can end it whenever I want. And that has been like my main portable game, right? And then Horizon Zero Dawn has been like my at-home PC game. And then so when I get Fire Emblem Engage, that'll just replace Pokemon Spot as the portable game. So I'll play that whenever I'm out and about, right? But there's also a big possibility that I might just play that at home.
Yeah, so you're telling me you come home, you've got 2 hours to game, and since you're not out and about, you're going to play Horizon Zero Dawn instead of Fire Emblem Engage, which is this close to matching the hype for Zelda.
You're right, I'm just going to be playing Fire Emblem. I'm just going to be playing that game.
Except
my wife, I know she wants to play that game too.
That's true. You'll have to split it with Erica.
So we're going to have to split. So when she's playing that on the TV at home, I'll be playing Horizon. So it'll work out. But
with that, do you think having to split that time
Zelda,
with Erica, are you going to be able to finish and get what you want out of the game before Zelda comes out?
I'm not 100% sure.
It's a tough one.
My wife's school started this week, so she'll be a little busier than she has been the last few weeks. But I mean, I gotta let her play the game if she wants to play the game, It might just be enough time, primarily because I don't expect to put more than 100 hours into it. My guess, just off the top of my head, after playing Fire Emblem Awakening, which is a more traditional story progression, only one line and everything, it's probably going to be somewhere around 50 hours. That's my guess. If it's more than that, I will be happily surprised. We'll see when the reviews come out, right? In about a week or so. But I think it might just be enough time before Zelda comes out. And if Zelda comes out and I'm still playing Fire Emblem Engage, honestly, I won't really mind. I'll probably just switch back and forth because they're both like going to be very different games. One is a strategy game. The other is, you're actually doing the combat and everything. So, like, Fire Emblem Engage, for example, is going to be, at least for me, a much better, like, portable game. On the grid system. I mean, it's anime chess, so it is. And Zelda, any time of the day, I would rather play it on the TV or my computer monitor. So I'd probably manage my time that way. But it'll all work out. At the end of the day, it's a wonderful problem that we've got all these beautiful games coming out.
Those 2 games are going to dominate your year, aren't they?
Yeah, I'm kind of afraid. Like, I hope it doesn't, like, completely, wash out the rest of the year for games.
But, those games are so chunky.
They are. They're both very chunky games. I guess all I'm trying to say is, I hope that I don't feel like the games that came out in the latter half of the year weren't as good as the ones that came in the first half of the year. Just because those 2 games in my mind are going to be, really huge in my life. I just hope I give the other games a fair chance.
Yep,
but,
makes sense. Well, there you go. Anyway. That's been going on with us here at DownNotableContent. And with that, it's about time to wrap up for the day, isn't it?
Can we just real quick talk about this is our first video podcast now. I mean, as you can tell, the production quality is fantastic. Hey, this is what we've got to work with. So this is what we're doing. I hope you guys enjoy it. You know, we wanted to take this podcast to the next level, and having video format, I think, for some of our listeners / viewers now are going to be more engaging. It's more options. You can see our facial reactions, right? And body language.
Right. There are going to be some times where you hear us laugh, and it's going to be because of a face that was made. It's not going to be because of what was said. And so this kind of gives you guys a little bit more. And I think it helps. A big reason that we wanted to do it is that we've gotten a lot of notes on how this podcast helps you as a listener feel welcome and like you're in the room with us. And so we thought adding the video format would also add to that feeling. Hopefully you guys can feel like you're here with us, because, you know, we're here talking to each other, but we're talking to you too. And so hopefully you can feel that a little bit more with the video stream coming along with it.
And at the same time, you know, I was thinking actually earlier, we don't have great studio lighting or anything. You know, we're in this kind of dark brown basement, but I feel like not having that studio fantastic lighting and cameras, gear, and all of that can kind of make it feel more genuine. I hope, you know, that we're just a couple dudes talking about video games in a basement.
Down to earth, right? That's the vibe that we're going for. And so hopefully you guys feel it. Now, with this rebranding effort and all these new changes, we have new social medias up for y'all. If you want to go ahead, we're going to start out with our Patreon. If you go ahead and look up DownNotableContent on Patreon, you can see different options to further support the podcast. There will be a couple different tiers available. And on Patreon, you can see what comes with those levels of support. So you can go ahead and check it out on patreon.com.
Can I just say something about Patreon? I just want to thank everybody, like we always do, for your support, just for listening to us. You are the reason why we do this, you know? And that is enough. You know, we're so grateful for the support that you give us. And Patreon is just, if you'd like to support us even more, then it's a way to tell us that what we're producing is something that is meaningful and valuable to you.
Yes. And the benefits or the perks that come with being a Patreon sponsor, we've worked very, very hard over the last couple of weeks to decide how we were going to set up our Patreon. And we set it up in a way where if you don't have the means to support us through Patreon, that doesn't limit your involvement in the community at all. There are perks to being a Patreon supporter, but the level of engagement that you have as a listener remains the same whether you're here or a supporter on Patreon, because of the other social media platforms that we've put up, and just kind of how we're going to run the podcast. Your value as a listener is not determined by what you do on Patreon. We just thought, you know, we'd like to offer you guys the opportunity to get a little bit more out of the podcast through different ways of supporting the podcast.
Exactly.
Outside of Patreon, you can find us on Twitter at our new handle at DownNotable, on Instagram at DownNotableContent, and our new email, DownNotableContent@gmail.com.
You do not have to spell our last name anymore.
That was a big reason. You don't have to worry with that mess of a last name. The video versions of this podcast are going to be up on YouTube and Spotify. If you'd like to add that extra dimension and those extra feelings to your experience with this podcast.
I think that's going to wrap it up, isn't it?
Yeah. Tell your friends about us. Leave us 5-star reviews. Send in comments wherever it is, whether it's Twitter, Instagram, Gmail, Patreon. We're getting a Discord server up soon. Any way you want to talk to us, please. We'll be checking them all the time, so you guys can be more and more
That
involved.
Discord server will be a very fun place.
Watch out for it. It's going to blow your socks off.
Okay. Stay tuned. Thanks, guys. We love you all.
Love you. Bye.